Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We are back. Time for another edition of Carolina Insider Live. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Jones Angell. He, of course, is Adam Lucas. We'll be with you for the next 25 minutes or so. And got a great show. We're going to talk to Michael Carter, Tar Heel tailback, All-ACC Tar Heel tailback as an all-purpose back. We'll talk to Michael about the upcoming season, about the uncertainty of this offseason, about his new shorter hairdo, all kinds of important things that we'll chat with Michael about. We've got our social drive coming up as well as we take a drive around social media, find a bunch of Tar Heel stuff out there too. But Adam, let's start with the fact that, holy smokes, we're just about 48 hours away from football.
It's game week. There's going to be Carolina football, knock on wood, in a couple of days. We're going to get to see the Tar Heels run out of the tunnel at Kenan Stadium. Not sure that anybody thought we would be in this position a few weeks or definitely a couple months ago.
I think, Adam, of course, a big story is the fact there aren't going to be any fans in Chapel Hill, at least for the first two games. Two things about that. Number one, Mack Brown has been very adamant that he hopes, and he is not the only coach, nor is Carolina the only school in this state that has made this proposal, hopes that something can be done to allow at least the parents of the players to come into the stadium. You're talking probably between 100 and 200 people there with that number, and hoping that something can be done to help them join the action and watch their sons in Kenan Stadium. And then number two, I almost feel like, you know how a bowl game, like the team that wants to be there more a lot of times wins the game, the one that's more excited. Like I think that was the case in the Military Bowl for Carolina last year, that it was the more excited team to be playing in that game. I feel like the team that's more excited to play, at least early in these situations where the crowds are either not there or a small percentage, the one that brings its own energy and is excited to be there, I think will have an advantage.
And is able to create that energy amongst itself, even without a big play to get things started. You got to be excited from the very beginning. As far as the parents at Kenan Stadium go, that's just common sense. That's not political. That's common sense for all sorts of reasons. These parents have watched these kids play their entire lives. For health reasons, what if someone gets hurt? You want their parents to be right there. And I think, too, it's not just football. It's all the fall sports that Carolina is going to play, which are hopefully getting underway in the very near future. You'd like to see all those parents be able to be there in person because they've been there for those kids' whole lives. We're
going to get to our conversation with Michael Carter in just a second. But, Adam, it's funny. I feel like how little we've talked about Sam Howell in this preseason. You're talking about a guy who threw for more than 3,500 yards last year, 38 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions, and you just kind of assume that he's going to have a great year. But certainly the Tar Heels have an elite quarterback leading their offense.
And what a luxury to not have a question mark at the quarterback position. We talked on the podcast last week. Sam Howell already 11th all-time at Carolina in career passing yards. He's only played one season. So what can he do in his second season? Looking forward to seeing it. And, of course, he's got a ton of weapons, including Michael Carter, who we'll get to catch up with.
Top 8 receivers are back for Carolina as far as number of catches from a season go. Of course, that includes Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, both over 1,000 yards last year. Top 2 tailbacks are back. They combined for nearly 2,000 yards last season. Starting tight end, Garrett Walston is back. 4 starters on the offensive line return as well. Easy to see why there's so much excitement for Carolina, and especially on that offensive side of the ball. Now, one of those 2 running backs who is back is Michael Carter. Was over 1,000 yards last season for the Tar Heels. We had a chance to catch up with Michael a few days ago, talk to him about this preseason, the upcoming year, and much more. Let's get to our conversation here on the Carolina Insider video version with Michael Carter.
Today we have one of our most favorite and most frequent.
Yeah, recurring guest.
Yeah, basically it's a 3-person podcast with Michael Carter. And Michael Carter with us again today. Michael, it's finally game week. How does that feel?
It feels excellent. I'm exuberant. I'm just excited to be able to play this weekend. Hopefully everything goes right this week and we're able to play this weekend. But we're preparing like the game is going to come.
What have these last few weeks been like, both from just the pure football side, but also maybe with the uncertainty of everything going on and whether or not we would actually get to this point?
Yeah, I think from just our locker room perspective is what is for certain that we have practice. So we just taking every day as its own day and not looking too far ahead, but being prepared for what's next.
Was that hard to do? Was it hard to stay in the moment and just focus on that day when you were a little bit unsure about what might happen in the future?
I think it's challenging just because you're hearing so much. One day the Big Ten cancels, same day the Pac-12 cancels, and then you're hearing that it's really basically up to the Big 12 if we're going to play or not. But I think that regardless, we had to go out and practice, and we had to be prepared and locked in mentally, and all that stuff takes care of itself. So I know, like, for a lot of us, definitely, I definitely feel like this. But like when we're in between the lines, that's really when we feel most comfortable. So we're allowed to let go of our outside problems to just play.
The last time we talked to you in April, you told us how underrated spring ball was in terms of getting ready for the actual season. As you've gone through training camp and now you're into game week preparations, where have you felt like you had to catch up? And where do you still maybe have a little ways to go to get to where you'd like to be game ready?
Yeah, I feel like I'm right on time, to be honest, which is a testament to hard work and the people that support us up here, and also being at home, staying ready for whenever we have to come back up. I feel like for depth purposes, the concern was, well, there's no spring, but in reality, we've been doing Zoom calls and staying inside the NCAA rules. I feel like all of the Zoom calls, like all of the tutorial was almost in a way more beneficial than being out there on the field, because these guys learn something and they get to spend months with it. And then they come in here and all they have to do is relate it to when they get on the field. So I think from a perspective of learning, it might be ideal. It might be the new way to do things.
So there's a lot of excitement about this team, about this offense, with so much returning, you and Javonte in the backfield, so much at the wide receiver position, of course Sam at the quarterback spot. How have you seen things playing out offensively here over the last few weeks during training camp?
Yeah, I think a big thing is that we're just so balanced, and for defenses it's kind of like, well, which way do you want to lose? Because we can run it, we got a great offensive line that doesn't get enough credit, and we got great receivers on the outside in depth at those positions, and we got a great quarterback that's going to make the right decisions. And me and Vontae, we just try to do our best to help the team win.
You've gone against a lot of different defenses in practice in your time at Carolina. The offense, as Jones just said, a little more of a known quantity. People aren't quite as sure about the defense. What have you seen defensively in practice that makes you think this is going to be a good unit this year?
Firsthand, the first thing that y'all gonna see this weekend is just how fast they are. Like, they are fast, so we got a fast defense and a physical one, and I'm just really excited to watch them play. Like I said, the main thing that's gonna pop up, like really stand out, is just how fast they move from sideline to sideline, up and down the field. Like, they get to the ball and they rally to it.
I think we have seen what Michael Carter and what Javonte Williams can do on the field. You guys combined for nearly 2,000 yards a year ago. Tell us a little bit about the guys behind you right now, a guy like DJ Jones or Josh Henderson. What have you seen from some of those younger backs, guys who may not get a ton of carries right at the moment, but that'll be a big part of Carolina football in the near future? Yeah,
definitely. I feel like starting off with Josh Henderson, a guy from up north who plays really physical game, big kid, can really catch, like, excellent hands. I think he's there. He's able to play in the game, and I think he's a guy that's going to benefit us however he can. British Brooks, who's a well-known player on our team, special teams captain, but he's transitioning more into, he's more than a special teams player. He's a great running back who a lot of people don't know had offers out of high school, but he lost them due to injury, and he came in and he lives with a chip on his shoulder, and that's a guy that you can definitely look for. DJ Jones and Elijah Green, two freshman backs that are just eager to learn, very coachable, sponges right now. Sponges that feel like they have the ability to play, and they do, and they know what they're doing out there on the field. There's really no missed assignments. It's just a matter of getting more comfortable with the system. But I do feel like both those guys are ready to contribute.
There's been so much going on in the world these last couple months, health-wise, social-wise, just so much other than just football. What do you feel like has enabled, at least from the outside? It seems like Carolina football has really balanced all those things pretty well. How has that worked?
Leadership from top to bottom. It starts really with Mac and his conversations with the athletic director and other coaches, other coaches around the nation see what they're doing and trying to improve off what they're doing. And I feel like personally that we've been in the safest position possible, maybe compared to some of these other schools, not throwing anybody under the bus. But I feel like Mac really cares about us to the point where he doesn't want to play at all if it's not safe for us. So I really feel like the balance has been due to leadership.
Michael, Coach Brown put out a pretty strong statement as far as Black Lives Matter a couple of weeks ago. I think he may have been sitting right in the chair that you're sitting in now when he did so. How did that hit you from the player perspective when you saw that particular piece?
It means a lot because you don't see a lot of coaches speak out, or it may feel like it's not as genuine, but the way Mac acts every day backs up what he says. And I feel like it means a lot to me because I live this life, and like a lot of teammates know that I've experienced that. So, and a lot of them have as well. So I feel like it meant a lot to come from Matt because he also not only wants to speak out on it on his own, and he does stuff that he'll never tell, but he helps in his own way. And he has the biggest platform out of anybody in this whole building. So for him to be able to stand on his platform and say that means a lot to the people that work for him and play for him.
All right, now the first time we had you on, we learned that you were a big movie buff, and at that time, I had seen 0 Marvel movies. I'd now seen them all. That was my quarantine project, so I'm catching up to you.
What's your favorite one?
I really like the first Iron Man, but I also like Ant-Man, which I'm getting to. So it turns out that the director of Ant-Man, Peyton Reed, is a Carolina alum, and we're working on getting him on the podcast. When we get him on here, what should we ask Peyton Reed, the director of Ant-Man, about either Ant-Man specifically or Marvel as a whole that Michael Carter, the expert, wants to know?
What I want you to ask him is if I could play the Green Lantern. I feel like you go on. Actually, no, that's DC. I'm tripping. Ask him if I can play, like, I don't know, make me something.
Yeah, that's right. We'll find a character for post-football life Michael Carter.
Just let me get in a movie. I don't want to be no extra, though. Just, like, let me get, like,
we need some lines.
Yeah, I was looking up on research, and I seen The Wolf of Wall Street yesterday, just, like, rewatching it. And Leonardo DiCaprio made $25 million. So I could use that.
That's what Jones makes for one podcast.
Right, this interview, it's about $1 million per minute, so let's keep talking, Michael.
For real, so, I mean.
All right, now hold on. You've been going a couple months now with what I like to call the short hair life. You and we're basically twins now with our hairstyles. What is it freeing to be free of all the long hair?
Yeah, I feel like I look good out there on the field.
Oh yeah, are you faster?
I miss my hair. I mean, sometimes I miss it, but not really. You see the waves?
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I've been working hard. Yeah.
Well, Michael, we are excited to see you and however much hair that you have on your head when it comes time in Kenan Stadium. Oh, one last thing. We asked Chaz Surratt this last week when we talked to Chaz. No fans in the stadium at least these first 2 weeks. Do you have any feel for what that will be like and how strange that might be for you?
Yeah, I was watching some of the games over the past weekend, and one that stood out to me was the one last night BYU played Navy. And I really feel like BYU brought their own energy. So I feel like that's what our sideline needs to look like this weekend.
It will certainly be a unique situation in Kenan Stadium and across college football as things get going coming up on Saturday. Michael, always a pleasure to talk with you, man. Appreciate the time and look forward to doing it again soon.
Appreciate it.
and the Orange ready to roll. Head by Surratt, and down he goes. Beautiful break by Chaz Surratt.
The legend of Sam Howell continues.
Juggling catch on the ground for a touchdown.
I'ma come alive when it's on. Now watch me work.
All right, now that you are properly fired up for the game coming up on Saturday, Carolina and Syracuse at noon in Kenan Stadium, Adam, go and get your hands on the wheel. It's time for our social drive here on the show. We'll take a drive around social media, find some good Tar Heel stuff. And Adam, we start with something that we mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, and that is all ACC team is out, and that includes 3 Tar Heels on the football side of things, including our previous guest from a moment ago. There's Michael Carter. He was named All-ACC as an all-purpose back. Of course, he is slated to be the Tar Heel starter at the kick return position, including what he can do out of the backfield and running the ball. Daz Newsome coming off a 1,000-yard plus receiving year. He was also in the top 3 in the ACC as far as receptions per game last season. And finally, Chaz Surratt, Tar Heel linebacker, who was our guest last week here on the show. And of course, big things are expected from him. All those seem to make perfect sense, Adam. I think guys who have earned that recognition.
Yeah, I think those are the obvious choices. I think everybody probably wonders, well, where's Sam Howell? You just told us how great he is. Well, Trevor Lawrence is still in the ACC. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Sam Howell moves into that discussion just because the expectations for Lawrence are so high. And as we've talked about, the Carolina offense is going to be so explosive. Another name to watch, Jones, I like Josh Azudu to possibly be All-ACC at the end of the year there on the Carolina offensive line. But Jones votes, so he knows. Voting for offensive line is tough.
No, it's hard. I'm not quite sure who the third best right guard is in the ACC, but you do your best to figure it out. Hey, I also think keep an eye on Carolina's secondary, and I don't want to pick one name because the Tar Heels have a bunch of guys who are going to play, but they've got a lot of good players there on the back end. Their depth and talent has really improved, and I think you could see a guy like a Trey Morrison or a Storm Duck or Kyler McMichael may pop up on one of those lists at the end of the year. Another young player who has had a very good preseason on the defensive side of the ball for the Tar Heels is Tamari Fox. And Adam saw this tweet from Phil Longo a couple of days ago about Tamari showing some veteran guidance to some younger players.
This is what you got to have. You got to have the veterans leading the younger guys.
Tamari Fox, one of the stronger players on Carolina's defensive line. Of course, he's also Tamon Fox's younger brother. Both those guys figure to play big roles for Carolina this year, and Tamari has been a player certainly that the coaches have talked a lot about, taking a big step between his first season and second season here in Chapel Hill. And who knows, maybe a future on the coaching staff for somebody as well. All right, let's go from some current football to some football in the past, and we're going way back to 1948. We did some research. You see this is from the Old Football Film Twitter feed. It is Charlie Choo Choo Justice returning a punt for a touchdown. We'll tell you about it in a second, but let's take a listen.
Gary of the Bulldogs kicks. And under it is the Asheville Flash. He streamlines it for the thrill play of the afternoon. That's justice for you.
This is actually in Athens, Georgia, against Georgia, a 21-14 win. Charlie Justice had all 3 touchdowns for Carolina in that game, including the game winner there, an 84-yard punt return for the score. It's funny, Adam, because a lot of people sent me that video and said it looked like the Gio Bernard punt, at least as far as the part of the field. It really didn't go down that far sideline. For younger folks who don't know Charlie Justice, of course, there's a statue out in front of Kenan Stadium, 2-time runner-up for the Heisman, and just quite simply one of the best football players ever to do it at Carolina.
The Carolina Insider Research Department really killed it on that clip, digging up exactly what game it came from. Got to question the Georgia punt coverage scheme. You went for the fake with Charlie Justice faking it to someone. He scored 3 touchdowns. He's not going to hand it off on the reverse. And one of the most frequent questions when there are fans in Kenan Stadium that you hear at every single game, why is the 22-yard line blue? Because of that guy right there. Charlie Justice wore number 22 for the Tar Heels. That's why that yard line is blue. So the next time it comes up when you're in Kenan Stadium, which hopefully will be soon, you can turn around and tell that fan behind you, Charlie Justice.
All right, let's go from football to basketball. And Adam, this picture popped up about a week ago on social media from former Tar Heel great Scott Williams. That's his Twitter feed, and that's Scott on the left side of the picture. And Adam, oh boy, Scott Williams, Jeff Denny, Pete Chilcutt, all three, by the way, have been guests on the audio version of the Carolina Insider. Three former Tar Heel greats, and what a picture.
That is incredible. We did some journalism and contacted both Pete Chilcutt and Jeff Denny to ask for more about this picture. It was taken in Rural Hall, North Carolina. Jeff Denny took his buds, Scott and Chili P, back to Rural Hall to get some of Mom's home cooking before practice started in the fall. Jones, if you had to wear one of those three outfits in the late 80s, 1986, which outfit would you have worn?
Sadly, I'd like to say Pete Chilcutt's, but it would probably be Jeff Denny's. Let's be honest. I'd have a collared shirt on.
Yeah, I think I would too, and I'd have it tucked in. But my dream would be to be able to pull out that Pete Chilcutt sultry stare at the camera. Like, that's probably Jeff Denny's mom taking the picture. And she's like, all right, boys, give me a smile. I'm so glad you're here. And that is Pete Chilcutt's immediate reaction. Like, I got the guns for you, Mrs. Denny.
Hashtag hide yo daughters in 1986. All right, Adam, we've got some more Tar Heel basketball stuff to get to.
Well, it was a big week in the Tar Heel Twitter world and in the Deon Thompson tattoo world. Deon Thompson is a well-known tattoo aficionado, and he really takes it seriously. He's got a lot. I don't know how many, but they're really artistic. We've had him on the podcast. He showed us to them. They're really good. And so his latest idea was he wanted to get a picture of the 2009 championship team tattooed on his body. So this is the picture that he started with. He thought, that would make a good tattoo. And he is still overseas due to quarantine. He wasn't able to come back to Chapel Hill, so he's getting this done abroad. And then he had this turned into artwork on his, I think, leg maybe, and I think is still in progress. Well, it's definitely his leg. We have determined that. And so there it is. Look how good it is. As the next time you see Deon, you'll have to ask him. Now, this is last summer, the summer of 19. Deon got a tattoo of Roy Williams on his leg. And this is the actual time, Jones and I were sitting right there.
We were sitting there.
That Deon said, hey, Coach, let me show you this tattoo I got. This is the first time Roy Williams had ever seen a tattoo of himself on a player's body. What an historic moment that was for all of Carolina basketball to be able to be there for that. And soon there'll be a picture of the 2009 team on Deon's leg joining him with Coach Williams.
We're going to get Adam's going to get the Carolina Insider logo presented by Wells Fargo on his leg. Adam, one of Deon's best friends is Marvin Williams, and Marvin also in the news this week as after a long and successful NBA career, Marvin decided to hang it up and retire from the NBA. And no doubt, first team, all nice guy, Marvin Williams, in addition to being a terrific basketball player. He's
been on the pod. Really encourage you to go back and listen to that one from, I think, last summer. If you didn't hear it the first time around, made what I think biggest shot in the Roy Williams era of Carolina basketball. Without that shot against Duke at the Smith Center in 2005, I think things turned out differently for a whole lot of reasons over a whole lot of years. And played 15 years in the NBA, made over $100 million. And don't forget, the only still, I think, one and done basketball player to come back and get his degree. He worked on it for 10 years or more in order to get that Carolina diploma. So can't wait to see what Marvin does next. He had a great NBA career.
All right, let's finish up on the women's basketball side of things, Adam, and we go to one of the best all-time for Tar Heel women's basketball. That is Ivory Latta, and Ivory took to social media this week to show off her new car and her hashtag game as well, but was given for her birthday her car wrapped in Tar Heel blue, and a gorgeous new ride for Ivory Latta.
If you've got your speakers turned down, you can go watch this whole thing because the Instagram post includes video of her coming out to see the car. and there is a lot of shrieking going on. She hurts her toe.
I can read the hashtag,
Yeah.
Adam. It says hashtag I hurt my toe running to see my car.
Yeah, well, those hashtags cover almost everything that happened on that day.
Hashtag my birthday is September 25th.
Yeah, it's more
just
like
the facts, Ivory.
It's more like a diary. Jones, would you ride in that car? Would that be your whip?
I would ride in that car, and I would have these shoes on my feet that Adam is yet again Where are you getting all of these?
Well, through my sources. You can buy these. A lot of these are limited edition only for the players, like me. But these you can buy at your favorite Tar Heel gear outlet. And these are the new ones for this season.
What about like national championship socks there?
No. Those are limited edition, only coming out of Adam's closet. Yeah, look at that. These are different than the national championship socks I wore the last time.
Wow.
So, Jones, you know what? My fit is on fire, as is my drip, I think.
You and Ivory Lattice Carr
Yeah.
and 1986 Pete Chilcutt. We are
Yeah.
high fashion here on the Carolina Insider. Hey, thanks for being with us. A reminder on the audio side of things, we have a new show coming out tomorrow. We have a great interview with Bryce Johnson on that. We'll also get you ready for the Syracuse matchup. And then also an audio podcast right after the Syracuse game. We'll have a Rapid Reactions audio podcast that we'll send out on the Carolina Insider audio podcast feed as well. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Thanks for joining us here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.